Hey everybody, today's video is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in Patreon, the link is in my description. Hello, it is another episode of Talks with Heavenly. So today we're going to be talking about how was I introduced to doing drag shows. Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, I'm gonna try my best not to get emotional about talking about this, because recently I got some really horrible news that had a lot to do with my upbringing and being in the drag industry. So now I'm going to be doing something a little bit different with Talks with Heavenly. So I'm going to be doing 3 categories, basically. So 3 things to vote on and everything for you guys to take and have me talk about with you guys, something that you would be interested in. But I want to be able to meet everybody's needs. So what I'm going to do is that the highest voted will come first. The medium, so like let's say something gets 10, that one's next. If something gets 5, that one's next. And then if something gets 2 or 1, that one's next, and everything. And then in the next episode, or in the last episode, there'll be more polls to vote on. So that's what we're going to do. So basically it stretches out and everybody gets their answer question, fulfilled, basically. Okay, so how was I introduced to doing drag shows? So a long time ago, probably around 2008, I had a friend. Her name was Laura. She passed away a few years ago, and she was a very dear friend of mine. She was the first person that I ever came out of the closet to. She was always there for me. She supported me through all of the bullying and everything that happened to me when I was in school. She was just a really close and very dear friend. She told me about this place called OYP, which is called Open Arms Youth Project. And I ended up going there. And at that time, I was in a very bad place in my life. I was very suicidal. I was cutting. I wasn't in a very good place. And it was mainly because I knew that I wasn't just gay, I was something else, and I didn't know what it was, because at the time I did not even know what trans even was. Like, I had no idea. And so, needlessly to say, I went and I met a very old friend of mine and everything, a drag queen that was working there at the time, and that was how I was introduced to doing drag. And I kind of, for a little while, until around 2009, I was basically just practicing makeup and practicing sewing and making costumes and stuff to perform in. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I would just kind of like watch the other entertainers and kind of see what they were doing, type thing. And then after a while, in 2009, I got to perform for the very first time at OYP. And it was very memorable. It was a really good time. And then in 2010, I competed for Miss OYP, got Miss Continental and Tyra Banks Beautiful Award. That right there made me feel amazing about myself. Also in 2010, I was on leading cast for about a year with Farrah Michaels, that won Miss OYP in 2010. I did not win Miss OYP, but I won Miss Continental and Tyra Banks Beautiful Award. But I ended up on cast with her, which meant that I was performing every single weekend. And it was very, very busy. And then I ended up meeting a trans woman named Erica Andrews at OYP. She has also passed away. She passed away in 2012. And in 2013, Erica passed away. And in 2011 is when Laura passed away. And, but basically after meeting Erica, I finally discovered what trans was. I went to counseling. I was in counseling for about 4 years. and psychological evaluations and everything. And they basically evaluated me from a ranking. So there's this kind of like ranking system in the trans community, and that's in the medical physicians for psychological evaluations for trans. And so it's a rank from 1 to 10. And so I ranked a 9.5, which means that I experience high levels of body dysmorphia, which is basically I'm just not very comfortable with my body in general. As I mean, you can tell, like, I've gone as far as modifying my body to be as comfortable with it. And just not in generally like it. That subject is kind of like you have to look and Google and everything because I don't know, maybe that right there is for a video. That, I mean, I'm willing to talk about it and everything. It's just, are you willing to listen to it? But other than that, so I met Erica, and then in 2012, I finally started my transition, and that was on my birthday. So since my birthday, it's been 8 years that I've been on HRT, which is hormone replacement therapy. Since then, I've been in a really good place in my life. I was performing still, doing everything that I wanted to do. And then after I started transitioning, I kind of felt no more need to do performances anymore. And the reason for that was because the only reason why I was performing was because I needed an outlet to dress up and be myself. And so now that I live my life every single day as a woman and I feel comfortable as myself, I no longer feel the need to perform as much because I am living, I feel, as my authentic self, basically. And so here recently this year, a friend of mine on Facebook liked a post by OYP's Open Arms Youth Project Facebook page. And they, after being a part of OYP for so long, being a part of the pageant community there, being a part of the makeup team there, working 2 years straight as the Magenta from Rocky Horror Picture Show cast member at OYP, working in the OYP Haunted House as one of the nurses from Silent Hill. I had a huge history with OYP. I was one of many leading role models for a lot of young children that were there to find people that were like themselves. And so even knowing that there was people that were there longer than me, everybody was still equal, because even knowing I had been there for such a long time, you know, there was a lot of kids that their very first experience of a drag person or a drag queen or a trans woman was me. And so I was a role model to a lot of kids that didn't feel accepted at all by their friends or families or their schools or anything. And so I, you know, helped a lot of kids. And I am completely humbled and satisfied with that, because, you know, if I had somebody like myself when I was growing up and everything, you know, tell me everything was going to be okay, I think my life would have been a lot more easier when I was younger. But there is a reason for everything, you know, that happens. And so this huge chapter of my life growing up, I recently found out the news that OYP is closing their doors, and it broke my heart. For probably a few hours after finding out about it, I was completely devastated. And the reason why is because I had recently got a booking to go back and perform at OYP October 27th, and I just found out that they were closing their doors literally in the month of July. So it was not the easiest news to find out about. Like it if Jay was not in the bedroom right now and everything and was in here, she would probably tell you that for a good hour and a half I sat on the couch and bawled my eyes out. And it was because OYP is just a huge part of my history. And to feel like OYP is closing their doors is basically like a part of me and my history just kind of like closing. And so now for me and hundreds, if not thousands of kids that grew up walking through those doors, watching my performances and other people's performances and getting inspired to go home and play with makeup and create wigs and create costumes and become, you know, an artist and do your own thing and be inspired to do those things, you know, thousands of those kids have history at OIP. And now that they're closing their doors, it's kind of like everybody that is a part of that community that grew up there is experiencing the loss of a loved one. And so to me, however, at first I was like, you know, I'm experiencing, like, I literally felt like I was experiencing the loss of a loved one, the loss of somebody that I cared about. And instead it was more like this place gave me the opportunity to be myself and to be who I am today. And in a sense, if it wasn't for OIP, I would probably not be the person that I am sitting before you. And it's not like, you know, I was molded in some certain way or fashion. I mean, eventually I would have ended up like this, but it would have been by some other means. But at the same time, though, I'm happy where I am. And I'm also happy that OIP was around for a very long time to give kids the opportunity to be themselves. I mean, I feel like now in today's system, don't need an organization for children and everything. I mean, I feel like we do need an organization for children, for those that are, you know, are feeling troubled with themselves because of what society has told them may be wrong with them when nothing is. And but at the same time, though, here where I live, in the state that I live in, Oklahoma, there's not a whole lot of negativity, I feel, that is based around homosexuality. Now, being trans, that's a different story here in Oklahoma, okay? Don't get that twisted. But being gay, not so much. And I think, like, nowadays, kids are going to high school and it's like, oh yeah, that's the gay kid in school, whoop-de-doo. When I was in school, if I was the gay kid, everybody was like, oh my god. Like, that was literally how it was, for me at least. But other than that, that's pretty much how I was introduced to doing drag. That, you know, it's a story in itself, and I have a lot of memories about OIP, and it's the same thing. Whenever I found out that OIP was closing, I just remember telling Jay, I was like, every single memory that I have is like going through my head right now at OIP. The good, the bad, the happy, the excitement, the joy, the laughter, the group conversations that we had, everything, it's all going through my mind. And it was just so overwhelming. It was like literally 7 to 8 years worth of history just rushing through my head. And now that the owners of OIP have liquidated everything there, they are basically giving me the original OIP performance curtains to OIP. So I will be owning the very, very first curtains that I ever walked through. So they are a huge part of my history. And I know it sounds so crazy. It's like, why do you want the performance curtains? Because it's part of my history, and it's because it's the very first pair of performance curtains that I ever walked through and performed on stage. And I just want those curtains so bad. Like, I want them so bad. But anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. It's definitely 14 minutes long. Like, I hope that you had your tea while you were sitting and watching this, or some popcorn. I don't know. Anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. I will be seeing you in the next one. Bye!